Okay, what is up there, YouTube? This is J-Man Time, and today I have a video on two surviving warships that managed to survive the First World War all the way up until the 21st century, and they are still around to this day. Now, this video is going to be about two French gunboats known as the Friponne and Migonne. Now, these were two French gunboats that actually served in the French Navy during the First World War. Now, both of these gunboats were part of the Friponne class. The Friponne class were a class of anti-submarine warfare vessels that entered service in 1917. Now, the ships were actually laid down in 1917, and the class was completed between 1918 and 1920. Now, during World War I, the French Navy actually fielded a variety of anti-submarine warships, also known as ASWs for short, and these warships were mostly tasked with patrolling the French coast for German and Austro-Hungarian U-boats. And the warships Friponne and Migonne were one of a huge class of warships known as the Friponne class of anti-submarine warship. But the two ships in this video, the Friponne and Migonne, actually served in the French Navy during the last year of World War I. Now, the Friponne class had a displacement of 443 tons. Their main armament was two 100mm Model 1891 or Canon de 100mm Model 1891 main guns, and they also had two 400mm depth charge launchers. These ships had a speed of 15 knots or 28 kilometers per hour or 17 miles per hour, and these ships had a range of 3,000 nautical miles and a crew of 50. Now, both Friponne and Migonne served in the French Navy at the very end of World War I for only about a year and a few months. Later on, 2 years later, in 1920, they were actually sold to the Kingdom of Romania, and they were renamed, and the Friponne was renamed Stihi Eugen, and Migonne was renamed Sublocotenent Ghiculescu, which is a pretty long name for a Romanian warship. But these two vessels were renamed and later served in the Romanian Navy. Once they entered the Romanian Navy, they actually served for a very long time, from 1920 until 1945, at least at that point. Now, in World War II, when World War II began in 1939, and Romania was later switched sides later on between 1940 and 1941, and it was during this time that her armaments were actually upgraded with four 20mm Oerlikon anti-aircraft autocannons added to her original armament from World War I. Now, during World War II, the Stihi Eugen and the Sublocotenent Ghiculescu actually served in the Black Sea Fleet, in the Romanian Black Sea Fleet, where they guided 17 Axis convoys throughout the war. During these convoy escort duties, these two ships actually engaged the Soviet Navy several times. The first incident happened on the 1st of October 1942 when the Soviet submarine M118 actually attacked a German convoy, sinking the German troop transport ships Salzburg. And it was during this attack that the Sublocotenent Ghiculescu, together with her sister ship Stihi Eugen, actually managed to fend off the attack, along with two other Romanian gunboats. And during this time, they actually managed to sink the Soviet submarine M118. Later on the 18th of April 1944, during the evacuation of Crimea, the Soviet submarine L-6 actually attacked another German convoy near the city of Sevastopol, and it was during this attack that Sublocotenent Ghiculescu actually managed to sink the Soviet submarine L-6 along with the German subchaser UJ-104. Later on, again, on the 27th of April, 1944, another convoy being led by these two gunboats were actually attacked again by Soviet torpedo boats of the G5 class. 3 Soviet motor torpedo boats of the G5 class of motor torpedo boats, which served in the Soviet Navy. And during this attack, the Soviet torpedo boats actually managed to damage some of the convoy vessels. And it was during this attack that both of these two Romanian warships actually managed to sink at least one of the Soviet torpedo boats, a torpedo boat named TKA-332, and during this attack they managed to fend off all the other 2 torpedo boats, which eventually left the scene with minor damage. Now, at the very end of World War II, both ships were captured by the Soviet Navy in September 1944 when Romania switched sides from the Axis powers to the Allied powers, and during this time the Subcontinent Ghiculescu was actually renamed the Soviet gunboat or Soviet anti-submarine warship Angara. Later on, a year later, in October 1945, she was actually returned to the Romanian Navy, where she was later given back her original name, along with her sister ship, the Stihi Eugen. And these 2 vessels continued to serve in the Romanian Navy from 1945 all the way up until the year 2002. During this time period, the ships had actually been transformed into survey vessels, and they served up until the end of 2002, where they were finally decommissioned. By the time they were decommissioned in 2002, these 2 warships, formerly known as the French ASW warships Friponne and Migonne, had served over 70 years in the Romanian Navy, nearly 100 years altogether. Fast forward to 2019-2020, these 2 ships, the Friponne and Migonne, are still around to this very day. As of 2019-2020, the Romanian government is actually planning on preserving these 2 warships as museum ships. And if they are preserved as museum ships, they would be the last of the French warships to serve in World War I, and some of the last remaining Romanian warships to serve in the Second World War, and also some of the last remaining early Cold War vessels of the Romanian Navy from the Cold War era. So what do you think of these 2 surviving French World War I warships that served in the Romanian Navy during the Second World War? The Friponne and Migonne, and these were 2 World War I vintage anti-submarine warships that were originally constructed in 1917 and served in the French Navy during the last year of World War I, and later went on to serve in the Romanian Navy throughout most of World War II, until she was eventually captured by the Soviets and served in the Soviet Navy for 1 year as the Soviet anti-submarine warship Angara. So what do you think of these 2 vessels? Please tell me in the comment section below. And what do you think should happen to these vessels? Should they be converted into museum ships? I believe so. But whatever your opinions are, please put them in the comment section below. And until next time, this was J-Man Time signing off.